As Earth's temperature plummets to minus 150 degrees Celsius in mere seconds, cities are frozen solid, and humanity teeters on the brink of extinction. With time running out, a desperate fight for survival unfolds as the world turns into an uninhabitable ice wasteland. Will anyone survive the frozen nightmare, or will the planet's final storm bury all hope? Today, I'll be recapping the 2004 sci-fi action film, The Day After Tomorrow. So, keep your eyes wide open and stay safe. Drop a comment with your next movie request, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Jack Hall is a paleoclimatologist on a dangerous expedition in Antarctica with his colleagues, Frank and Jason. They're drilling for ice core samples on the Larsen Ice Shelf for the NOAA when disaster strikes. The shelf suddenly breaks off, and Jack comes so close to falling to his death as it crumbles beneath him. The freezing cold winds whip at him as he barely escapes. It's a close call, but the real danger is just beginning. Later, Jack travels to New Delhi, where he presents shocking findings on global warming at a United Nations conference. Despite the urgency in his voice, diplomats and the Vice President of the United States, Raymond Becker, don't take him seriously. They dismiss his warnings as overblown, brushing off his scientific evidence like it's nothing. But Jack knows this is just the beginning of something much worse. However, Professor Terry Rapson from the Headland Climate Research Centre in Scotland believes in Jack's theories. Several buoys in the North Atlantic show a massive drop in ocean temperature all at once, sending alarm bells ringing. Rapson realizes that melting polar ice is messing with the North Atlantic current, something that could lead to disaster. He immediately contacts Jack, whose paleoclimatological weather model reveals how past climate changes triggered the first ice age, and it can also predict what could happen now. Jack thought this sort of thing would take hundreds or thousands of years, but when his team teams up with NASA's meteorologist Janet Takata, they build a new forecast model with their combined data, and it's worse than they ever imagined. The world is on the brink of disaster, and it's happening fast. Across the world, violent weather begins to wreak havoc, causing mass destruction. A massive snowstorm hits New Delhi, a powerful hailstorm strikes Tokyo, and devastating tornadoes tear through Los Angeles. In response to the chaos, President Blake authorizes the FAA to suspend all air traffic due to the severe turbulence making flying too dangerous. Meanwhile, on the International Space Station, 3 astronauts witness a storm system growing out of control, stretching across the entire northern hemisphere. Their return home is delayed, as they realize just how catastrophic things have become. The situation only gets worse when this storm system evolves into 3 massive hurricane-like superstorms, each with an eye filled with supercooled air that freezes anything it touches on contact. Jack's theories aren't just predictions anymore. They're becoming reality. The world has only about 7 to 10 days left before the full disaster hits. Meanwhile, Jack's son Sam is in New York City for an academic competition with his friends Brian and Laura, where they also meet a student named JD. During the flight to the city, severe turbulence shakes the plane, and Sam grabs Laura's hand in fear. They feel the tension in the air as the storm grows stronger. At the competition, something strange happens. Birds migrating south suddenly fill the sky, and soon, animals across New York begin acting agitated, as if they sense something terrible is coming. The weather turns violent, with intense winds and rain pounding the city. Manhattan's streets, already packed with traffic, quickly flood knee-deep in a mix of rainwater, salt water, and sewage, turning the city into a nightmare. Everything is spiraling out of control. Sam calls his father, promising to be on the next train home, but the subways in Grand Central Terminal are shut down due to the massive flooding. As the storm rages on, a massive tidal wave slams into Manhattan, flooding the streets and causing unimaginable destruction. Thousands are killed in the chaos. In the midst of the disaster, Sam and his friends scramble for safety, making their way to the New York Public Library for shelter. But the journey is perilous, and Laura gets wounded, cutting her leg on a submerged taxicab as the waters rise. Their survival becomes even more uncertain as the city is swallowed by the storm. While survivors in the northern United States are forced to stay inside due to the deadly cold, President Blake orders the evacuation of the southern states, sending almost all the refugees fleeing towards Mexico. At first, Mexico closes its U.S. border, but after some negotiation, President Blake manages to convince them to open the border to the desperate survivors. Meanwhile, Jack and his team are on a mission to reach Manhattan and find his son. Their journey takes a dangerous turn when their truck crashes into a tractor just past Philadelphia. Undeterred, the group continues their journey on snowshoes, battling through the harsh conditions, knowing time is running out. They must reach Manhattan before the worst of the storm hits. During the journey, Frank falls through the glass roof of a snow-covered shopping mall. As Jason and Jack desperately try to pull him up, the glass under them begins to crack, threatening to give way. In a selfless act, Frank sacrifices himself, cutting the rope and falling to the floor far below, saving his friends from certain doom. Meanwhile, in Mexico, Vice President Raymond Becker receives word from the Secretary of State that President Blake's motorcade was caught in one of the superstorms before he could make it to safety. With no time to waste, Becker is sworn in as the new president, taking on the heavy burden of leading in a world on the brink of destruction. Inside the library, Sam warns everyone to stay indoors, but most ignore him, desperate for a way to survive. The small group that stays behind burns books to stay alive, using the last of their resources, and breaks into the vending machine for food. Laura seems to have caught a cold, and Sam comforts her, his emotions raw. Later, he confesses that he joined the team because he held feelings for her, and in a tender moment, Laura and Sam share a kiss. But things quickly take a darker turn when the group discovers Laura is suffering from blood poisoning due to her infected cut. Sam, Brian, and JD set out on a dangerous mission to find penicillin, heading to a derelict Russian cargo ship that washed ashore. They're ambushed by starving wolves, forced to fight for their lives. Meanwhile, the eye of the superstorm moves over the city, freezing everything in its path, starting from the top down. Barely escaping, the trio makes it back to the library. Carrying the medicine, food, and supplies they risk their lives to gather. But survival is far from guaranteed. During the deep freeze, Jack and Jason take shelter in an abandoned Wendy's restaurant, trying to stay warm as the storm rages on. Once the astronauts confirm that the storm is beginning to dissipate, they resume their journey, finally making it to New York City. There, they discover the library buried under a thick layer of snow, but to their relief, Sam's group is still alive. They quickly radio this in, and the president orders in Black Hawk helicopters to assist in the rescue. President Becker, filled with newfound hope, orders search and rescue teams to scour the area for other survivors, motivated by the success of Sam's group. As he addresses the nation for the first time, he speaks of hope, survival, and the fight to rebuild. The storm may have passed, but the battle for humanity's survival is far from over. As the main characters are evacuated and flown over the city, they witness hundreds of helicopters searching for survivors, and they see people from other skyscrapers flocking to the roofs, desperate for a ride to safety. The scene is a bittersweet reminder of the chaos that unfolded. The movie concludes with the astronauts, now aboard the space station, looking down at Earth from above. Most of the northern hemisphere is now covered in ice and snow, a stark and haunting sight. One of the astronauts remarks that it's the clearest atmosphere he's ever seen. The world may be in ruins, but there's a sense of clarity and hope that humanity will rebuild and adapt. So, which awesome movie should we recap next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below, and let's make it happen. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you never miss out on our movie recaps. We've got plenty more coming your way. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Produced by Warner Movie Recaps 2.